Welcome to the weekly dose of Emuna for Shabbat Kodesh. This Shabbat, we're going to discover and reveal what it means when the light of Shabbat begins to shine. The Arizal teaches that the light of Shabbat begins to actually shine on the 5th hour on the 6th day, which is around mid-Friday or so, but it only comes in a form of concealment. What does that mean? It means that the light actually reaches us in the form of strict justice, which is why we see on Friday afternoon, unfortunately, things have a way of going wrong, right? The chicken suddenly, drops on the floor, God forbid, or someone splashes something on the freshly cleaned floor, right? Some people get stuck in traffic for hours, or, the children begin to, go out of their routine. Basically, the frustration really rises, and there goes the delight out of that Shabbat. So when you expect that there's going to be some sort of trouble happening, at least what we can do, which we always say is knowledge is power, we can have the ability to at least distance ourselves from the difficult situation and not allow it to overcome our emotions where it actually takes control of us. So during the week, we might try to, control our reaction. We try to perfect ourselves spiritually. But on Friday, the real avoda is restraint. In other words, just stopping ourselves from reacting on Erev Shabbos, midday Friday afternoon, allows the space for that Shabbat illumination, for the divine light that's anyway entering into this world to seep into us. Now, the idea of Shabbat, as we know, is expressed in the wording to delight in Hashem. So we define the light of Shabbat as what? As the desire to have this intimate closeness to Hashem. That's what it means to delight in Hashem. That's what basically defines and describes the idea of the light of Shabbat. That yearning for this spiritual delight, for this closeness to Hashem, unfortunately, though, in general, often takes place and is used as a reason to pursue other desires in the material physical world. So around mid-afternoon, mid-Friday afternoon, we have all these little subtle desires for pleasure, but we need to understand that that pleasure is really needs to be directed towards spiritual pursuits and not towards any other pursuits. And essentially, if you really look at it, it's not by chance that during this time, the mid-Friday afternoon, just before Shabbos, the full gamut of Shabbat divine light comes into the world. Adam, at that precise time, sinned. He felt those first stirrings of his desire, and he misplaced it into physical desire as opposed to spiritual delight. And that's what enabled him, unfortunately, to give in to his temptation and take part of the forbidden fruit. So we have to know at mid-Friday, there is definitely a concealment of this divine light, and we're absorbing this energy, we're absorbing this delight, but to be careful not to use it to run off into physical, to run off to physical enticements, but to use it and gear it only for spiritual pursuits. So what is the actual way that these physical desires come and entice a person? It's through the idea of us, before Shabbat Kodesh, getting heavily involved in possibly thinking about our physical desires, physical aspirations, our material pursuits. All of these things seem to climb into the head and sort of take us off track from really paying attention to planning this day as being a spiritual day. And If we know this, if we understand that we need to leave the idea of, planning physical pursuits and getting heavily involved in physical planning of, aspirations of materialistic desires in nature, then we'll be able to certainly be able to rectify the sin of Adam HaRishon and be able to understand that this is a time to elevate ourselves spiritually and to be thinking about long-term spiritual motivations and drives, and Be'ezrat Hashem unite with HaKadosh Baruch Hu at this time, as opposed to, God forbid, allowing ourselves to actually go downward and feel ourselves drawn more so into the physical world. So as we try Erev Shabbat on Friday afternoon to elevate our thoughts and elevate our behavior in the most spiritual way, and fear to allow ourselves, God forbid, to explode with anger and frustration or self-indulgence of any kind that gear us away from our spiritual goals of life. Be'ezrat Hashem, with knowing that this is the time where the divine light comes down in the shape of concealment, and therefore there could be a lot of dinim and a lot of difficulties, which we all know and have experienced, then let's prepare ourselves in advance and know that this is the hour that we need to hold strong. This is the hour where we need to think about what we're working towards. The fact that we are working towards this intense relationship and closeness to Hashem all week, where we're confused and have so many things running through our minds. On Erev Shabbat, as we prepare the home and prepare the meals and prepare the ambiance of our homes for Shabbat Kodesh, we should have in mind our spiritual pursuits, and who knows, maybe even have a sense to experience this feeling of love and closeness and embrace of Hashem on Erev Shabbat, and that in itself will help us, God willing, to be able to accept the Shabbat and accept the lights and embrace the lights as we light the candles and receive the divine light in its full shape, form, and glory. Have a great Shabbat filled with luminous smiles always.